Hey folks, welcome back. This is Athletes Incorporated. You can check us out on ibtv.us, Roku TV, YouTube. Comment, subscribe, like what we got going on here, and we want to talk everything about the draft. It was a huge week for the draft. This is my co-host Harold Johnson. I'm Trey, and we actually watched the draft together. What was your favorite part of the draft?
Oh, probably the favorite part of the draft was the kid who's from Central Florida.
Yeah, Shaquille Griffin.
And he's a twin and just has the one hand. That was probably the story, the feel-good story of the draft. Lots of stuff went on. Probably the craziest thing, as you would expect, the Cleveland Browns still. Insanity. They take Baker Mayfield with their number 1, and with their number 4 pick in the draft, they take a small corner from Ohio State. It's unbelievable what they do. If you equate, if in your equation you put character, there's no way that you can take Baker Mayfield. Too many character problems. He's small on top of that.
Well, both of them. Well, their first 3 picks, nobody talks about. The average height was 5'11".
Yeah.
I don't have a big issue with Baker Mayfield because some people have said he's the best quarterback. He's the most accurate quarterback. My big issue is the rest of their picks. They picked a center in the 3rd round who, his name is Austin Corbett. He wasn't the best center on the board at that point. They took Nick Chubb in the 2nd round when they needed to shore up their offensive line, and all those guards and tackles were there. Nick Chubb has a lot of injury history, and at Georgia, everybody knows he was running through holes the size of a bus.
Yes.
And really, my biggest issue was Denzel Ward, folks, with the 4th pick of the
4th pick overall.
With the 4th pick, with Bradley Chubb sitting there, with Quentin Nelson sitting there, with Mike McGlinchey sitting there, knowing that Joe Thomas, a Hall of Fame tackle,
that just retired.
And if you guys don't know who Denzel Ward is, he played for Ohio State, highly decorated. He was a hell of a player, but he's about 5'9". He's 183 pounds.
And he's going to be a good, serviceable corner in the pros, but not with your 4th overall pick. There's no way that anyone, if you're thinking of what's going to go on now and in the future, I think their draft was just a total bust.
Is there, my thing is this, so we know what the problem is. They're drafting bad players. But why? Why? How? Who? Like, we know who's drafting the players. Hugh Jackson is the coach, who's actually I really like as a coach. Yeah. But why are they having these issues?
I think that then now they're put in such a position that everything is a reach. Mm-hmm. Instead of going with what is the safe pick, what we know would work, they want to reach, and they're going to make something great happen.
Right.
They're going to take players who they're going to take a chance on. Go down to the 5th round.
Right. Antonio Callaway.
From Florida. Right. This is a young man you probably couldn't get a better physical talent as a football player, but has way too many issues. Mm-hmm. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, I don't believe you can afford to bring a player like that in. Could the Patriots bring him in? Yes.
Right. I don't think they would, though.
No. Yeah. He probably has some problems for them. But you'd have to have a situation where it's a great team and a great group of professionals around him. Right. You have too many other questionable people with Cleveland. They're still trying to bring back the wide receiver.
Josh Gordon. And Antonio Galloway is actually the same guy, folks. If you guys don't know about Antonio Galloway, he's from Miami, Florida, highly touted, one of the most athletic and highly productive receivers at Florida. Had 2 sexual assaults, failed the drug test 3 times, failed the drug test at the draft.
At the combine.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't even play his senior year.
He was suspended for the whole senior year.
Right.
But let's move on from him.
Yeah.
I thought that, and I was surprised and shocked at the great job the Denver Broncos did. I think it was obvious that this is the first year in the John Elway era that he did not have. They went from a dictatorship, from him making every single pick, to a democracy. There obviously was a group of folks in the room who had a vote on what went on. Because to take Bradley Chubb, wow, that was a great number 1.
Great number 1. And he's going to make Von Miller so much better. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, they also corrected the mistakes they were making throughout the draft. They got a big tight end, Troy Fumagalli, to match up with Jake Butt, who's going to be playing. So they're going to be able to run the double tight with giant tight ends.
Yeah, should be healthy this year.
Yeah, we've got a great a true inside linebacker, not one of these small linebackers, but Josie Jewell, who played at Iowa, who was only person in history to be a 4-time captain
for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
For the Hawkeyes. We got some adults in the room, and we didn't take a quarterback.
Right, which was really smart, and which I was shocked that they didn't take quarterback. They don't need one right now. They need to shore up all the things that they needed to shore up. They really came away with it. And just talk about some character guys. The wide receiver they took from Penn State.
Yeah. Deshaun, I forget his last name.
Just a really good.
Great character guy. Has 2 degrees. Is the all-time reception leader at Penn State. A military brat. Why his dad was away in the Marines, his mother had breast cancer, he took care of, and his younger brother has nonverbal autism, who he took care of.
They took care of him.
You know,
just some really fine young men who you can count on off the field as well as on the field.
Which is what Denver was missing. And I think, with this draft, they really put the AFC West on notice that they're going to get better because, the Raiders are going to be there.
Yeah. But as far as draft's concerned, the Raiders so iffy. The Raiders have an iffy draft. They take with their first choice the big tackle
Colton Miller
from UCLA, Colton Miller. Then they come to find out he's another one who's on Twitter, making crazy statements. He says back when President Obama, he says Obama's not his president. Then when we get Trump, he's on Twitter saying, that's my president.
Right.
Keep your mouth shut, Colton. So, we have the first choice is Baker Mayfield. Right. The second goes Saquon Barkley to the New York Giants, who had a great draft.
Amazing
draft. They go to Saquon Barkley. Third are the Jets. They take Sam Darnold, who I think is... I think he's still a project. He's going to have things.
But here's my thing about Sam Darnold. I sat down and thought about this after they drafted him. He's 20 years old, folks. He's the youngest quarterback. He's really going to be able to grow up. He has the biggest upside. So if you're going to take a quarterback like him, I think you do it. Because he's 20 years old. He's got so much to grow.
Yeah, but what you have to remember, if they don't sit him for this year, if they expect him to come in and start,
which they don't, they got Josh McDowell who loves to kind of develop young quarterbacks and likes to be that guy that takes them under his wing.
Let's hope that happens because they say that, but then they push to start him, them number 1 draft choice quarterbacks as soon as things look funny and go bad.
Right.
If they throw him in there, it's just like taking a puppy out that has great bloodlines, and you think that you fire that gun off in over his head, and then he's gun shy the rest of the time. He turns out not to hunt for it.
Kind of like David Carr.
Yes.
From Houston.
Yeah.
David Carr.
You can't take those kind of hits. You can't take that kind of beating early on in your career and think that it's going to work out in the end.
Right.
So let's hope that they let him sit for a year. I still think the best quarterback that was taken and the jewel of the quarterbacks, I still think was Jackson at the last pick of the first round.
And Howie Ozzie Newsome's last draft. He's actually retiring, folks. And I don't know if you remember, his first draft, he took 2 people in the first round, Joseph Ogden, and I think...
Jonathan Ogden from UCLA. Who was Hall of Fame tackle.
And Ray Lewis.
Hall of Fame.
2. And I think the same thing is going to happen.
Yeah, and with them taking Jackson at the last pick, they moved up to do that. He definitely is going to sit for a year or 2.
And Joe Flacco's put on notice.
Yeah. Well, but Joe Flacco's coming to the end of his career anyway, man. He's coming to the end of his career. He's going to go out. There's very few people like the clown up at the Patriots that wants to play till he's 50 years old.
Right.
None of them won't do that except him.
Right.
And Flacco knows he's got about 2 years left.
Right.
And then they'll move on.
Right.
And
the quarterback coach, and a lot of people don't know this, folks, and we're going to close it out and go and continue to talk about the quarterback coach, actually coached Michael Vick in Philadelphia when he's still a runner. So he's got somebody there that's going to show him how to play quarterback in this league, which is going to be huge.
And then Flacco can show him how, in the locker room,
how to be a professional.
How to be professional, and that makes a big deal. Well, folks, that's the end of the first segment. We'll be back in a moment.